Let's record. All right, so we're recording now. You will find if you download from D2L the exercise here, DB Lab 1 for Premier Products. And what it is,
Sir,
involves.
could you let Karim in?
Wow, I got some real interesting feedback going on there. Um, yeah, so you can unmute yourselves if you want to talk, but that'll just avoid us getting sort of some bad feedback there. So there are, it looks like 4 tables here. Yeah, there's only 4 tables. These are the commands that you need to use to create those tables. So that's kind of easy. You could type those out, or because they're in a Word document, if you downloaded the Word document, you could probably um, just Word that. Oh, actually, it looks like an image, doesn't it? Ah, it's a picture. You're gonna have to type them. It's an image. Sorry, it's not text. So you'll have to type those commands. We're going to create some tables, but it does give you the tables at least to create the tables. The commands are there. Now, be careful when you get to this part here about creating the inserting the values. You don't need to do a new values thing for each row. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Actually, I'll show you how to do all of this stuff. I think we'll go through it kind of one at a time, and we'll see how it works. So, getting back
Sir,
to
did you say that we're going to be doing the program in in the when I came to your office that you showed me? Karim, close it. Okay. Huh, sir?
what are you asking me?
I'm asking you that when I came to your office that you showed me the SQL program in the I don't know some kind of website.
All right.
We're gonna be doing in the Word document, not in that website.
No, you have to use Word. You have to use a SQL program. So if you look at what's on D2L for today, you see that. Uh, well, did I not? Yeah. Hold
Sir,
on.
I still don't completely understand the SQL. Like I'm still like lost in it. Even though like after you showed it, like I get the idea, but the assignments I'm having a really hard time, which is the assignment the second on lab 12, I think so. I still haven't done it because I'm still trying to figure it out like how to do it.
Okay. Well, I
Like
don't know.
I don't know why this is hard. Like the Excel and HTML, they were like really easy, but this is like something I'm not getting the idea of it.
All right. Well, I don't know about what I can do about that in the middle of this lesson, but we can definitely talk about it. What I'm hoping is that if you look at this, but this example, as we do it, that some maybe the penny will drop. But we can certainly go back and look at it a bit more as you like. So you talked about how are we going to use SQL, the real thing. I have given you a link here, which I hope you can see now, which is on your D2L, this SIT link for the Triv SQL. If you follow that link, it'll bring you to, oh, gee. If you follow that link, it will bring you to, not this one, this one here. It'll bring you to, actually you'll have to log in, and then once you've logged in, you'll get to this Trivial SQL, where you can save your SQL. If you can use that one, that's a server which is running off of it's running off of one of the computers here, and you can log in. The instructions for logging in are there in small print, sorry, but they are there. You'll use your username will be your student number. And then you have to also refer to your database name. Your database name will be DB and then your student number. Your password will be the same password that you use to log on to D2L and to the college website. If you do that, that'll bring you to a page like this in which you can start putting your SQL commands. That's one way of doing it. Now, the way I like to do it is a little different. And so you've got a choice. You can do this way, and you can, you can create a table here, right? Create a table, customer, and put in all the commands one at a time. Uh, Wherever you do that, what I ask you to do is to copy the command as you make it and then save it into a file which you're building using Visual Studio Code. So, for example, you can see that I've created a file here, and it's called Labs for SQL.
Sir, in the SQL, the indentation doesn't matter. It's just going to be all in one line.
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean. We
The
do, it's
When
not.
we were doing the HTML, we were doing the indentations between like the body and the header, the doc type, whatever we were writing, we were doing the indentations. So I saw like you did everything in one line, which is like the first line without any spaces. So I'm asking about the spaces. Is it okay, like acceptable like that? And why can't we do the SQL directly in the Visual Code? Why do we have to visit this website?
Can you see this is Visual Code, and I have written SQL code in it. Yes, you can write your SQL code in Visual Code and save it as a .sql file. So that's what I've done here. So when you go to save, you can save as one of the options is SQL and make sure that it's got a .sql extension. If you do that, Visual Studio Code will give you hints to let you know that you're on the right track. And you can see those hints as in different changes in colors. So, for example, a green color means that that is a comment and it's not going to be processed. The blue color means that those are sort of reserved words in SQL, and you know you're on the right track. Um, Now, as far as indentation goes, no, that's not important in D2L. Where that's important is in Python. And I hope I made it clear when we were talking about HTML. It's not really important there either, but we do it in HTML. We put indentation in HTML because it makes it easier for us to read the file, and therefore it makes it easier for us to update and correct the file or for it and to maintain the file. Now you'll see here, I've written commands here, many commands, and there is no indentation. It's not required. This could have all been on one line, but it would have been very difficult to read. And so what I tend to do is I tend to break things down as small as I can so that they're easy for me to read. But it's not necessary. You could have put it all in one line. How we know when we got to the end of a SQL command is there will be a semicolon. Every SQL command has a semicolon at the end of it. So it is a different programming language. Okay, so it's not HTML, and that's what we use it with HTML, but you'll notice it's not inside the HTML code. This is something quite separate. So did I answer those questions that sort of came up? I hope so.
Yes, you did.
Sir,
Okay. Okay, good. So what you
sir,
see here, somebody else is asking me a question now.
sir, can we use MySQL
This
to
is
do these?
MySQL. This is if you have MySQL installed on your computer as a server, yes, you can use MySQL. The problem is that I wouldn't be able to check your database, but that's fine. You could, because all I'm asking for you to do in this course is to give me your code. See how I put all of my code into a flat file? We call it a flat file, as opposed to something like Excel or Word or which has special codes in it. There's no special codes in this. It's all just characters that we recognize. And so you could actually save this as a .txt file, but we save it as a .sql file because then we can run it using an SQL server. We could actually take this file and feed it to an SQL server, and it would do everything for us if we had the right SQL server.
Sir,
So that's what I want you to. I'm going to ask you to submit for me a file which is a .sql file like this with all of your commands in it. Yes.
sir. So when we're uploading the document, so we create a zip file, And then we also put the SQL,
Put the
the dot SQL. We can put this like this.
yeah, put the .sql file into
Okay.
your submission. Yes. And
Thank you.
it should, because you can see the entire file here. This is for the entire 3 weeks work. You see this, it's not that much, it's doesn't take up much space, you know,
Yes, of course it doesn't.
it's just hardly anything, right? There's no
Yeah.
images, nothing fancy in it. It's just a little bit. So this is what I'm going to go through the commands that you'd need to do today's work, and you can see them here, and I'll show you how we use them. So what I'm going to do at the moment is, let's start here. Can you see this? You can see, right? I'm now in SQL Online. Can you see that? I hope so.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So you can go to SQL Online and you can just do anything there. Now I'm going to drop the tables. So I'm going to drop customer, drop table, customer. And if you look here, you'll see that there's my customer table and it's all set. And I can, well, no, that's something else. But if I execute this command, now the customer table's gone. Now I'm going to drop the other table, which is sales rep. So I'm dropping those two tables. Can you see the sales rep table here? Now I'm going to drop it. It's gone. So I don't have any tables. I'm using MSQL. There's no tables there except for the tables that they gave me. And so now I'm going to go and start my commands. Now, I have written the commands here. This is what I would recommend you do, right? You're going to write them in a file like this. You can just, once you've written them, you can copy and paste them straight into. So I'm going to copy that and paste it straight into my SQL. This one is SQL Online. So there's the command. Now, notice that the comment is sort of grayed out here. It was greened out here, but it's grayed out over here. That's good because that's indicating to us that it doesn't actually do anything. Now, if I run that, please watch over here on the left-hand side as I run that. What did it say? 15 minutes exceeded. Dropped the database. Okay, no problem. Because that's the problem with click to connect. Okay, so I got to connect. What happened? This is the problem with SQL Online is once it only will hold the database open for you for 15 minutes once you leave it not active, and that's why we have to save all of our commands in a text file. So now I'm going to try and run that again. So I had to reconnect, and what's it saying now? Incorrect syntax near sales rep. Is this possible? How is that? I know I saved this. Sales rep doesn't like the. It's kind of weird. Drop table if it exists. Oh, I know why it only allows one command at a time. I think let's run it again.
Why
Okay,
is
so
that, sir? Why one
uh,
command?
well, it's just the way it works is with one command at a time. So I'm going to copy that one command. Now, if we had a more industrial strength server, then we would be able to run more than one command at a time. It's actually telling me that I've got.
So what would you recommend using the SQL code in the HTML or this MySQL?
I don't know what's going on here. This is weird because this was working before. It didn't like the if not exists. So that's strange. Maybe I spelled something wrong there. But what's happened now is I've created this sales rep thing. Now, what was your question? Sorry. Oh. I have now created this table, sales rep, and when I click on it, I can see all of the fields that are in the sales rep. They are as per the description here, which is already given to you. And I'll just go through that with you now. We're creating a table. I've put if not exists, but I see that it didn't like the if not exists, so I'm going to take that out. That's what I noticed is with the SQL Lite, it doesn't Doesn't work with all the standard SQL commands. All right, so what we have is we have an open bracket, which is closed at the end here with a semicolon. And then inside of that, we have a list of all the fields that make up that table. And then those fields are described according to the field name and then the type of data, and then maybe if there's any other description. So for example, in the first field here, we had to mention that it was the primary key. Now, I hope I've described to you before in previous lessons what the primary key is. Primary key will uniquely means there's only one of its kind, will uniquely identify every record in that database. And so the first field is, so for example, the first field is going to be the rep number. In other words, each record is
Sir,
identified
if the
by its
primary
number.
key, the title of the table, like
No,
I'm
no.
giving a identification for the table.
The primary key, do you see I'm highlighting the number 20 here and then the number
Yes.
35 here? These are
Yes.
the primary key. What that means is the record for Valerie Kaiser is identified by its primary key, which in this case has the value of 20. The primary key is called repnum, and it has a
What
value
is
of
it gonna do? Like what the primary key is gonna do in the tables? Like what I understood is that um it's a title.
the primary key is the way that we identify every record in the table. There can each record can only have one occurrence in the table, which has all of the values in that data. We can only have one Valerie Kaiser in the table, who is this Valerie Kaiser. We could have another one, but there's only one that has the rep number of 20. The rep number 20 can only appear in this table once. And so it's a unique identifier. That is one of the rules of the database, actually, is this idea of a unique identifier. You have a student number, correct? Your student number is 600
Yes.
something or other. There may be another student at this college named the same name as you. That's possible. But there is no student ever in the history of this college that will have the same student number as you. So we can take your student number and we can use it as a key to go into our databases and find out all the information that's recorded about you. And so that means at the end of your diploma, we can hand you a diploma and we can be confident that the grades that are on that diploma are your grades. Because every time
So
we put
this
a
is what you
grade
mean by
into
the
the
primary
system,
key.
it's a primary key. Every time we put a grade into the system, it has your student number on it. It may or may not have your name on it, but it's got your student number on it. That's a primary key. It's unique. Well, does that make sense? I hope. Absolutely essential for databases is that every
Sir,
record has a unique key.
sir,
Okay.
why are we using drop table effects as sales rep as the first command?
Good question. Now, what this will do, if we try and create this table sales rep and it already exists, then if you were running a script, your script would exit with an error. And so just as a good habit for building a script, before we create any new table, we will drop it if it already exists so that the script doesn't fall over with an error. Does that make sense? If the table sales rep
A little bit,
existed,
not that much.
if the table sales rep existed and we went and ran this command here, create table, and it existed, we would just get an error saying can't do that. And if we were running a script, now, unfortunately for us in this example, SQLite Online does not allow us to run scripts. We have to run one command at a time. But if we were running in a more robust database system, then we could put all of these things together in a big file like this and run it all at once. Just put it in there as we call that a batch file, and we could just with a single click we could create and populate all of our tables, and that's what I would do. I mean, so I would save all of my data in a text file and just start it up, and there it is, and that would be my backup.
Sir, are you going to be teaching us the functions of the words that are highlighted in colors today, or is it just introduction to the SQL code?
I'll try and explain it as I go. How's that?
Because it's too much.
Yeah, okay. Create is a specific word that's used in SQL. It can be used for two things. It can create a table, or you can create a new database. Every bunch of tables has to be collected together in a thing called a database. With SQLite, that's assumed. All right, we have a database, and it's our test database, and we just put things in it. If you're working on the other one that I'm giving you, um, this one here, TrivSQL, your database has been assigned to you by Robert. When you log into your database. It'll be DB and your student number. That's your database. All your tables are there. They are separated from everybody else on the server. Okay, so
what about in HTML? I mean, the visual code.
Visual code is just like a Word document. It's sitting on my laptop, or could be on my mobile phone, right? And I take that and give it to the server, and the server processes it one command at a time. But yeah, this is not a living thing. This stuff on Visual Code. It's just, as I say, it's a flat file. And when I take this and copy and paste it into the server, then it does something. Okay? Does that make sense? It's only on the server that it really does anything. Yeah. Anyways, all you have to do today is this exercise here. So first you have to create this table. The command is given to you exactly, and you can see it here. So you're going to have to type this. I put it here, and I've created that table called sales rep. Then I'm going to create I'm going to insert into the. Can we see what it does? I will try. Let's see. All right, so let's go through and see what it does. So I'm going to now add all the values. We add the values with this command called insert. Insert into. Notice the syntax. We say insert into. We say the name of the table. Then we give all of the fields that we want to insert data into. After we've done that, we use the word values, open up a brackets, and we put in for each row, we put them separately and in their own sort of set with brackets around them. So this is one row, there's another row, there's another row. Each of those has data that is put into it. So that table has 3 rows. Yes, there's only 3 rows of data in there. So now I've copied those 3 rows into my my memory, and I'm going to put it into. I'm going to insert that data there. So this is the command that will insert that in there. If I run it, what you'll see now is where's that? There it is. What I'll do is I'll check to see that it's there. How I can check to see if it's there is I can do a select star from sales rep. What that does is it will show me all the values, and look down here. It'll show me all the values if there are any values in that table. And so I can see down here that those values have been correctly inserted into that table. So I'm good for that. Now I'm going to create the next table, which is customer. Let's see if it works with the. We had the problem with the not exist, didn't we? But we'll try again. So I'm just going to put that command in there.
So is it necessary to start creating a table like before we do that? We have to say if it does exist.
If you're starting from nothing, you won't need to say if not exists. Okay. I'm only doing. Look, if you don't like that, let's take it out. Right. It's on. The only reason it's in there is because of if we were running this as a script. Okay. So customer doesn't exist, so I don't need that. And now customer does exist. See, before I only had one table. Now I've got two. Let's go and look at, let's go and add some data to customer. There it is. So how is this working? Insert into customer, then lists the name of all the fields in the customer table, which are the same fields that were created here. We can see those fields, what type of fields. One's a character, one's a varchar. Varchar is different than character because it's variable. It won't store empty spaces. Not null means that you're not allowed to leave it without a value. It must have a value. Primary key we talked about. Numeric values, the
Sir, could
8.
you repeat the car?
Repeat who?
The car that you said
Char.
customer number car. Char,
Yeah.
yeah.
Char is short for character. What happens with char is that however many spaces you say here, memory will be put aside in the computer to hold all of those, whether they're used or not. Varchar or
Like
variable
if I
character.
write 3, that means I have to input there 3 characters,
No, it
which is
doesn't.
3 letters or numbers.
No, it doesn't mean you have to import. You have to put 3 in, but what it means is memory is set aside for 3. If you put 1 in, it would still store, but it would have memory where there was nothing in it. Okay, now that's different for varchar. Varchar, we use it for a customer name. Some people have short names, some people have long names. With varchar, if you've got a 5-letter name, so you don't have to put 35 in, it will only store the 5 letters. And so it's more efficient use of space.
Could you give me an example on var char?
On char, okay, well, we can see the
Var
example
char.
varchar.
Yes.
Let's look at the examples that we've got here in front of us. Okay, so the customer number is a character with 3 spaces. If we look at all the customer numbers, there they are. They're all these things, right? And they're taking up 3 spaces. Now you might look at that and say, oh, that's a number. That's not a character. Well, yeah, it is a character because if you see the quotes to make sure that it's not treated as a number. Now the customer name on the other hand is a varchar with 35 characters. Here's our customer names.
So what if it was treated as a number?
Well, that would be bad. For
Why?
It is possible to use a number for a primary key. We could use that. But the thing is, well, yeah, it's like a phone number, right? You could use that as you could enter that as a number, but the problem is then you might end up with some kind of weird mathematics going on. We don't add up student numbers. We don't add up phone numbers. They are just an identifier. And so just to make sure that we're not using them as a number, we'll put a little quote around them. Now here we are using some numbers. You see here, 6,550, that's a number. And you'll see that the way it is in Visual Studio Code is it's a different color. So we can see the difference between real numbers and numbers that are stored as characters. So this is a postcode. We wouldn't want that to be a number, because we don't want people adding them up. You see what I mean?
So if I want to write a pure number that would be visible on the table, I would have to write it down without the codes.
This will be visible in the table. It's just that we won't be able to use it for mathematics. Okay, so that's the difference between
what
a text.
About the green thing? The green.
The green is used for mathematics. We can add these numbers together, or multiply them, or whatever.
And how can you multiply them inside the table like right now you're doing it? Because I don't see any multiplication sign. I just see commas.
We're not multiplying them now. They're just being stored as data, but we could. And actually, you'll see that it's in one of the exercises, I don't know, exercise 2 or 3, where what we do is we take one total and multiply it by another. in the order or whatever like that. So for example, in an order, we're going to have how many, maybe 3 parts, and each part costs $25. And then we have to have a total for the order. So I have to take the value of the part multiplied by the quantity to get the total. And yeah, so yeah, these things we can, these numbers can have mathematics on them. And that's kind of absolutely important, right? Because we have this thing called accounting, right? There's thing called money. And so when it comes to money, yeah, we want it to be numbers. When it comes to phone numbers, when it comes to postcodes, when it comes to addresses, we don't want that to be a number that people are going to do mathematics on. We want that to be an identifier. And so it's just going to be with the rest of the text. I hope that makes sense. So,
Not that much, but yeah, a little bit.
okay. Did we create our customer table? We did. Now I'm going to insert the data into the customer table. Just now, all of this is given to you, but just to look at how it would look. So that's how it works. We say insert into the table. We give the list of the table fields, and then we use the word values. And then for each row, we put a bracket, and we put all the values separated by commas. The numbers, we don't put quotes around. Everything else, we put quotes around. When we run that, then what we'll see is when we do a select, we'll have all the values will show up down the bottom here. So there's all of our values, and you can see that, yeah, well, you can just see them there. So there's our values showing up in our table.
Sir, how can the program recognizes the what is it called in English? I forgot. Tertib. I don't know
Sorry?
how to say it. I forgot the word in English.
Same if we give it int instead of
Order.
numeric.
Yeah, the order. Yeah, thank you, Roida. How does the program, when we are running it, how does the program knows the orders of each thing that we are storing in a specific area?
Do you mean that customer 148 comes before 282?
No, I'm
Um,
not saying that. Like 148, the customer number, the street. Like, how does it knows that I'm storing it in a specific order? How does it recognize that?
well, when I created the table, I inserted the values in the order that I put here in this statement here, right? So I said insert into customer, and then I listed the field names, and I put them in a particular order. And then the order is important. Then the first value here must map to the first value in there. And then the second value here must map to the second value here. And yeah, so that's a very good question. We can't sort of mix up those orders. The order is important. The order is set in the first part of the command here when we're creating the table. Oh, sorry. Well, yes, actually, when we create the table, the order is set there too, right? But when we do the insert, we say where we're going to insert them, and then the order that we use in each row must map to the order that we had in the first part of that insert command. Does that make sense? Hope so. I'm going to just quickly create these other tables. So here's the orders table. The orders table is quite a simple one. So what it's got is it's got 3 fields only, but it does have a special kind of type of data, which is date time. Now, in your notes, it might have said something about date, but I noticed that they use date time here. So let's see if that will run. Yes. And so now if I insert all of these values, now these values, they kind of look kind of cryptic, right? It's like, what the heck? What's the meaning of all of that, right? So here, so you would have to, again, map here. Each one of these is an order number. The order number happens on a date, and the order number is mapped to a customer. Now notice a customer can have more than one order, even can have more than one order on the same day. And so if like customer number 608 had two orders on the 23rd of October, order 617 and order 623. Anyway, so that goes into that, and we see the order table is created. We got another table, which is the part table. It won't make any sense unless we put these in there. So the part table, copy that. Um, will that run with the not exists? No, it doesn't like that. Really? That's weird. So that's valid SQL, but it just don't like it, right? So we got part in there. We're going to insert all the values for part. And run that. We can test to see if they're there.
Take the, first of all, create table if it exists part, that thing, and then put it in the MySQL, run it, and then delete that, and then take the information which is stored inside the table, run that, and then it's going to give you the table.
You get the table by
It's a
doing
long
the
process.
create. And there's two steps to making the table. We create the table and we give the list of names of
No,
all.
I don't mean it as a code. I mean it as you running it in this application, or is it like a website? I don't know.
This is not a website. Well, it is a website, obviously, but it's a website that has a server on it.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like you take, oh wait, let me mark it so you would know it better. So you take first of all this and you run it.
Yes.
And then after that, when you're done with that, you delete that
Yes.
and then take this information,
Yes.
put it here,
Yes.
and then remove that again,
Yes.
and then type select from what the table name is.
Yes.
Wow, that's a long process.
Well, you got it. At least you figured it out, right? They happen. What I've got here showing you, this is sequential. It must happen in this order. You must create the table, then you populate the table. Create the then afterwards you can check to see if the values are there. So that's the three steps. Create the table, populate the table. Populate the table is done with the insert. Then we check to see if the values are there. So at the moment, I've created the customer table, the orders table, the parts table, and the sales rep table. And so I've got one more table to create, which is the order line table. So we can do that.